Hello, my name is Wally, and welcome to Between Two Artists. I'm here with American composer Missy Mazzoli and Canadian librettist Royce Vavrek, co-creators of the opera Breaking the Waves, opening now for the European premiere at the Edinburgh International Festival. I sing the role of Dodo. No, not the exotic flightless bird, but rather the best friend and sister-in-law of the protagonist, Bess McNeil. I have some questions I've been wanting to ask these two for quite a while, so it's quite fortuitous that I find myself here between them. Here we go. Now, Missy, you've written 3 operas, correct? Mm-hmm. But Royce has written 12, so Royce is winning the opera race. You've obviously put this all aside, though, both of you, and found a way to collaborate rather brilliantly. You won the inaugural Best New Opera Award from the Music Critics Association for this piece in 2017, and were also shortlisted for Best World Premiere at the International Opera Awards that same year. Missy, you have your own Grammy nomination, and Royce, your opera Angel's Bone won the Pulitzer Prize. So what's next? I'm guessing maybe you guys have got your eyes on a Guinness World Record or something like that? That would be quite the victoire.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Do you have any plans for future greatness?
Just world domination. Yeah, in general.
Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd settle for an EGOT. Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
Now, Royce, I don't think very many people would know that prior to becoming a prominent opera librettist, you were one of the original members of the sensational boy band One Direction. How has this early brush with fame impacted your choice of libretto source material?
Well, as you can tell, a lot of my work is extremely populist. I do a lot of comedic work, and Sister Act is one of my favorite films, and I know that there was a Broadway musical made of that, but I do think that something like that is sort of my next endeavor. I think I need to do something super exciting and buoyant and One Direction-like.
Oh my God, what a strange question.
Missy, in your recent cover story for Vanity Fair magazine, you discussed how the orchestration for Breaking the Waves includes some pretty boss modern sounds of the electric, percussive, and recorded variety. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your unconventional scoring of this opera and what those sounds bring to the world of the waves.
So, I really came to opera through music videos. Mm-hmm. As a kid, I would watch 4 hours of MTV a day. And I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, and this was my window to the outside world. So at that time, this was like late 80s, early 90s. It was Guns N' Roses. It was these big metal bands and these rock bands, and the videos were epic.
You're really dating yourself there.
Oh, no. I'm fine with that. Please. So that comes out of that. It comes out of that epic world. I want it to be this timeless story, and having the guitar combined with the classical instrument sort of just sets us free.
It's really dope. I love it.
And I should say the electric guitar is the voice of God in the opera. If you want a little sneak preview of what's going on in my mind, it's every time a character talks to God, we hear the electric guitar. So
is not the electric guitar the voice of God in life in general?
Absolutely.
Great. Our opera is set here on the Isle of Skye in Scotland. And I heard through the grapevine that you two did a pretty notorious pub crawl there on your research trip several years ago. I'm sure you picked up a little of the local accent. Would one of you give us your best Hebridean?
No.
You just did it last night. Mm-hmm.
Prove that you love him.
I'll take it.
Your stunned silence means that should probably not go in the video or that no one else should ever hear that.
Royce, on a scale of 1 to 10, how intolerable do you find baby pictures on social media?
Oh, wow. I would say like 2. Yeah.
1 being can't even handle it, and 10 being love, love, love.
Oh, then 9. Invert my answer. Yeah. Baby pictures are great. Babies are awesome.
Missy, we have a question here submitted by a fan. While at work composing, how many bottles of whiskey would you say you've consumed without pouring any of that whiskey into a glass?
How did you know? Who is this fan? Is this like my next door neighbor? I lost count a long time ago.
That happens. That's what happens when you don't use a glass. Royce, we all know the controversial film version of Breaking the Waves that our opera is adapted from was created by Lars von Trier. If you could ask Lars one question about the piece, what would it be? And while you think about your question, I'd like to introduce a very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lars von Trier. Sorry? You said he was coming on the boat at noon. Is he not? Lars will not be able to join us today. Next question. Missy, would you describe yourself as more of a hunter or a gatherer?
Oh, I'm a hunter.
And what is your typical prey? Librettos or?
Just, I don't discriminate.
Wonderful, wonderful news.
I'm an omnivore.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Missy, our opera is about a woman in an impossible situation. What's the most impossible situation you've ever been in?
Writing this opera. This is impossible.
Well, you did it. You sure did it, girl.
Yeah.
Missy, in your spare time, you moonlight as a professional hand model. How would you say the wages in the hand modeling industry compare to those of a composer?
The wages in most industries are far above those of a composer.
Royce, in your own words, could you please explain to us how one would actually break a wave?
That is still up for debate. But I do think that you might want to ask Ms. Mazzoli, who herself is a very avid surfer. So she might have a little bit more context about waves breaking or otherwise.
Well, glad you asked. The goal in surfing is not to break the wave, so I don't know if the metaphor really works here, but the goal is to be inside the wave. And I would say we are definitely inside the wave of this piece, and it will break Wednesday night, Edinburgh Festival, King's Theatre, 7:15 p.m. Be there.
Awesome. Thank you. Missy, I read this gossip piece in the Daily Mail tabloid about when Royce first proposed the idea that you create an opera adaptation of this film. You turned him down flat. How shocking. It was all over Paris Hilton at the time. What did he have to do to eventually win you over?
I mean, let's be real. I'm pretty easy to win over. It was just persistence and the minimum of effort. And I was like, all right, sure. No, I did say no to Royce when he first proposed this. I love the film so much. And it felt like this perfect object. And the story just felt so perfect. And why mess with a good thing? But it was an idea that would not leave me alone, and Royce would also not leave me alone about this. And it just became something that we had to do, and I'm so glad we did this. I mean, this is the thing that, of all the things that I've written, I'm most proud of this, really. For years, it was 3 years of the two of us alone trying to come up with this thing. And it was at times thrilling, at times horrible, at times very, very lonely. And it was all in our minds. And now to be able to share that with the world and feel the feedback from an audience is like the greatest gift of my artistic life. So, yeah.
Royce, you are known in the opera business for your flexibility as a collaborator, for your openness and willingness to bend and adapt to the ideas of your co-creators. When you're choosing collaborative partners, do you look for that same sort of flexibility in them too? How flexible is Missy, for example? She looks like she probably does some yoga. But really, what do you look for in a collaborator? How do you choose your partners?
Nothing less than Simone Biles. This woman is a tumbler. She knows how to work those parallel bars. And this woman on the floor exercise. Holy
Thank you very much for sharing that. And Royce, if you had to choose one character in our opera to bring to the Oscars as your date, which would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think the obvious answer is that Dodo would be my date, as performed by Wallace Junta.
And the Oscar goes to?
Wallace Junta.
Thank you. I had no idea. I never would have expected it. I'm not prepared. Well, in summation, I would just like to thank you for tuning into this episode of Between Two Artists. We were thrilled to join you. Have a lovely day and break those waves.